Well, hello there. It is, what is it? It is May 5th, Monday, May 5th, 2025. And we need to talk about some stuff. One of the main things is this meme that's going around that I don't know who did this. I don't know. It is actually on the White House uh, website showing Trump as the Pope. And I got to tell you, the left is absolutely going crazy over this. They think it's blasphemy. They think he should be. I'm assuming arrested. They're absolutely losing their minds over this. No one can take a joke anymore. I mean, this is tame stuff. This is tame compared to what they've done in the past. Let's see here. I'll show you this. Look at this. Look at this. Is that not great? Is that not great? I love this guy. He's hilarious. Now he's saying he didn't have anything to do with it. I find that hard to believe. I mean, it may be true. I'm not saying it's not. He acted like, I saw him in an interview today. I'll show it to you here in a minute. Let's see. Where is it? Oh yeah, here we go. Let's watch. Let's watch this.
Looking like the Pope.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. You mean they can't take a joke? You don't mean?
Let me turn it up a little bit here. See if I can get it to.
The Catholics, you mean the fake news media?
And
not
of course
the Catholics.
It's not. Now that doesn't surprise me. Why would that not work? I tell you, doing this stuff video wise is such a pain in the ass. It really is. Unless you're doing it full time, it can become a real issue. It can become a real issue. It's but here, let's get back to this. Anyway, he went into some detail saying that it was fake news that was the one that was getting their panties in a twist. And he said, hey, it was a joke. It was a joke. Catholics have a sense of humor. And they acted like the Catholics, all the Catholics in the entire world were upset about this. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, for instance, I mean, speaking of things that are blasphemous, just off the top of my head, I just looked up a few. I looked up just a couple. You remember the Olympics? The 2024 Olympics? You remember those? How about this? Take a look at this one. Look at that. Look at that. Now, that's not a joke. That's an actual artist rendering or artist interpretation of the Last Supper. You remember this? Nobody got upset about this one. They said it was wonderful. They said it was a artistic, I guess, interpretation of the Last Supper. That's what they said. They said Catholics around the world were upset about this. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. Why is it okay to do this, but not this? I don't understand that. I don't understand that. And by the way, I mean, I'm not a Catholic, so I can say this. The Pope himself, the Pope, I never have figured this out. I never have understood this, the whole Catholicism and this guy being what, next to God. He never is. The Catholic Church has been caught in all kinds of I guess you'd call it scandals. Think about that. Think about the way the priests were treating. They were molesting young boys. Nobody. I mean, they just moved the priests around when there was a problem. I have no sympathy for these people. I really don't. And as far as this is concerned, it's actually a great picture. It actually looks real. And I think he said something about, you should elect me Pope. Something. It was just off the cuff. Who cares? Who really cares about this? I don't. Was he being blasphemous? I don't think so. I mean, no more than this picture was. And they were serious about this. They had this fat woman playing Jesus at the Last Supper. And we had all transgenders throughout. I mean, come on. I know most people with even the slightest bit of decency were offended by this. I'm not even Catholic. I thought it was ridiculous. I thought it was embarrassing. I still do. Looking at it kind of makes me a little ill. Makes me want to throw up in my mouth. You know what I mean? What do these people think they're doing? Who do they think they're kidding? Another thing. Let me show you another one. How about this one? How about this one? Fauci as Christ, and no one said anything about that. I didn't. I just happened to run across this. This was something they were selling. Fauci is Jesus Christ. I mean, it does. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't get any worse than that. Yeah. So, I mean, and not only that, but think of the things that Saturday Night Live has done, mocking the Catholic Church. Think about the things that politicians have done, mocking the church. For instance, look at this. Watch this one. This is Gretchen Whitmer. Let's see here. Let's let this play again. She was the way it's portrayed. She was actually giving communion to a podcaster using a Dorito. Now tell me that's not blasphemous. Okay, that's your politicians. How about here was another one. How about when Joe Biden mocked the Catholics by invoking Christ in a pro-abortion message? How about that one? Nobody said a word about that. We just let that one go. Saturday Night Live has done tons of things anti-Catholic. How about when the LA Dodgers promoted transgender nuns? Transgender nuns. Nobody says a word about that. But my God, if Donald Trump puts something on Twitter trying to be funny, the left goes berserk. I've never seen anything like this. They're so pathetic. The people on the left, especially the radical left, are crazy. They prove it time and time again. Look at this. Watch this. Watch this one. This is a good one. This is a good one. Look at this. It says, oh, the outrage over Trump's Pope meme from the same crowd that applauded an abortion bus outside the DNC and cheered on the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence for mocking Christ. Truly the moral compass of our time. Aren't they? Aren't they the moral compass of our time? They're such hypocrites. Why would you do this? Why would you do this? Why would you think this is a good idea? And why would you mock somebody? It was a joke. It was a joke. But apparently the left doesn't have a sense of humor. I've come to the conclusion that the left simply doesn't have a sense of humor. What else? Well, the Olympics in Paris. I mean, I couldn't believe that they did that to the Last Supper. And again, I'm not Catholic. But it kind of infuriated me, and I don't mind them making fun of it. But this picture of the Pope was on his Twitter account. When they made fun of the Last Supper, it was part of the ceremony at the Olympics. You know how many Catholics there are in the world? And you're spitting right in their faces. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it at all. It is. It's hard to describe sometimes the left's inability to see themselves. They're like an alcoholic or a drug user. They're not willing to admit that they've got a problem. And one of the first step in recovery is admitting you've got a problem. I'm not saying you should love Donald Trump. I'm not saying that. But there comes a time when you go over the line. And this just proves it once again that they don't know where that line's at. They have absolutely no control of their emotions. It's all emotion based. Nothing else to say about that. It really is. It's embarrassing. They're I guess the equivalent of a 15-year-old, especially a 15-year-old girl who just goes crazy when something doesn't go her way. That's the left. But it truly is amazing. I wanted to show you something right quick. Just moving on from there, I wanted to show you something right quick. I saw this. This was let's see here. Let's add this. Ah, yes. I saw this the other day. This is Disney World. This is the price to go to Disney World in Florida. Or I'm assuming it's Florida. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's what, Magic Kingdom? Is that? Well, it doesn't matter. It could be in California, it could be in Florida. It doesn't make any difference. A kid who is, what is that, 10 and over, $179 for a day pass. For a day pass. And that's not including if you want to buy the skip line thing where that's another $80. How the hell does anybody go to these things? I mean, you do the math on that. A family of, let's see, let's do the math right quick. Let's do the math. It's 179 times, let's say it's a family of 4. All right, times 4. That's $716. That's without the skip line pass. So let's add 80 times 4 would be 320 plus 320 is 1,036. That's just to get in the gate. How does anyone do that? Is Disney out of their minds? There's no way most people could not afford that. That's for a family of 4. $1,036. And I don't know if they add tax onto that or what. They could. $1,036 just to get through the gate. And I read the other day, Six Flags is shutting down a bunch of their places. I think there's one in Maryland. There's going to be several more around the country. I live near one here in Eureka, and I'm sure they're wondering if they're on the chopping block. People don't have the money anymore. If they price themselves completely out of the average person's budget, just like sporting events, just like concerts. It's when I was a kid, I knew people would go to concerts 2 or 3 times a month if they had the opportunity. It's because it was $20 to go. You get a great seat. Now it's in the hundreds of dollars. How does anyone do that? $180 per person to get into Disney World. I don't know. I can't figure it out. Don't know how anyone could do it. Don't know why anyone would do it. Everyone I've ever heard that's been down there says it's nothing but standing in line, sweating to death, and you're surrounded by Orientals. Chinese, mainly. Of course, I don't know if that's happening anymore since the the tariff wars going on. That may have dropped off considerably. Maybe that's why they're raising prices. Maybe they don't have enough people coming down there. I don't know. It seems like the world's starting to shift somewhat. And speaking of this this tariff war, I think China is probably going to have upheaval. I don't know if Xi is going to survive this. I don't know that he can. It's not going to be next week. Nothing's going to happen next week. Probably not next month. But inside of a year, 18 months, I don't think he's going to be around. That's a good thing. I would hope that the CCP was disbanded completely. Are we going to have another Tiananmen Square? Are they going to come out and kill thousands of their own people? Wouldn't surprise me. Think of how many they killed during COVID. So if you think they won't do that, you're kidding yourself. Now, having said that, we have right now, we're right on the verge of a leader of one of the major powers in the world being backed into a corner. And that's never a good thing. They get desperate. They do desperate things. What do you think the Chinese will do if they're backed into a corner? What do you think? You have any idea? Any guess? I think they're going to invade Taiwan. I do. I think that'll be the last attempt to retain control. is what I think is going to happen. And in my opinion, they keep talking about, well, that'll be the start of World War III. No. World War III already started. It started back when the United States bombed the Nord Stream pipeline of Russia's. That was the beginning of World War III. History books will look at it that way. This will just be another step. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know when's it going to happen. What will we do? What will we respond? How will we respond? Do you think Trump will go to war with them? I think he probably will. I don't know that he's got much choice if they pull this off. It will initially it will be a an air war, and will there be exchanges of nuclear weapons? Folks, I'm not kidding you. It wouldn't surprise me. The Chinese, that regime, the Communist Party, does not take many prisoners. They don't like anyone. They trust no one. They are corrupt from top to bottom. They lie, cheat, steal. That's all they know. They've never created anything. Everything that they've got, they've stolen. And they will retaliate over this tariff war, because it's hurting them bad. And it's really hard to get video out of China, but people do it, and you can see it. You see interviews with people in business. Streets are, the businesses are closing. People are being unemployed. They're not able to make their mortgage payments. Right now, they're in a recession because of the real estate market dropped. They've got some serious problems. I mean, we've got our own here, but this is something that's unprecedented. And what will they do? How are they going to respond to this? I think they're going to lash out. That's what I think they're going to do. I think Xi will probably attack Taiwan, and then we'll have to respond at some level. What will we do? I don't know. You'll notice Ukraine's off the front of the front page. Have you noticed that? Nobody cares anymore. I think that is so funny. The mainstream media, they're so unprofessional. They don't follow up on anything. Nobody's talking about Ukraine anymore. Nobody's talking about Russia. I haven't heard the word Putin in weeks. I haven't. It's all been about, lately it's been all about Trump and how bad a guy he is. And I'm sure that will continue. But right now, Ukraine has made a deal with the United States for mineral rights. And it's a pretty good deal for us. It really is. If it works out and they cut down on the corruption in that, it will be a good thing for the United States. It will. And I truly believe that there will be a peace agreement shortly. I really do. It's the best for everyone. But no one cares. No one cares, because we're worried about Trump, somebody making a meme with him showing him the Pope. That's what we're worried about. I don't know about you, but when I wake up in the morning, I always go on Twitter and I hit trending just to find out what everybody's talking about. More often than not, especially on Mondays, it's mainly sports. That's all. A big portion of it is all sports. But this morning, the big one was Trump and the Pope. Trump being the Pope. That was it. That was the one everybody was talking about. Everybody, the left was having a cow over it. And I thought, well, this is going to be a good day. It really is. Nothing about Ukraine. Nothing about Israel. Nothing important. This drivel, no one cares about. Yeah. And later on during the afternoon, I found out that I'm going to show you this picture. I found out that what are we doing here? There we go. You know what this is a picture of? This is a picture of Alcatraz. Okay. You remember Alcatraz? You've seen the movie Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood. You've seen it. If you hadn't, you really need to. But if I'm not mistaken, I got to look this up again. Well, you know what? Someone's texting me. Oh, yeah. Okay. Unimportant. Unimportant. Let's see here. Let me look it up right quick. Alcatraz. Yeah. Okay. And that's not what I wanted. You can never get what you want when you need it. Anyway, I just read that a minute ago. Hang on just a second. I'll be right back. Well, no, maybe I won't. I thought I could do this. No, okay. All right. Interesting. Interesting. I thought I could stop this. Oh, I tell you, this platform I use to record this, they change things all the time, and they don't even warn you. They really don't. It's the weirdest thing. Yeah, I'm sure it's run by a bunch of kids, and it works. Don't get me wrong, it works. But you can go on one day and look for something, and it's not there anymore. It's gone. They just eliminated it without telling you. It's a pain in the ass. Let me look this up right quick. I really want to talk about this, and I wanted to read what Donald Trump had said about this, about Alcatraz. And I'm hoping it's not. There we go. Okay. I apologize for this. I should have been more on top of this. And I thought I was. Okay. Where is Donald Trump? Here it is. Here it is. I'm going to read this to you. It says Alcatraz. Now, well, okay. This is Donald Trump. This is his Twitter account. It says rebuild and open Alcatraz. It says for too long, America has been plagued by vicious, violent, and repeat criminals, the dregs of society, who will never contribute to anything other than misery and suffering. When we were a more serious nation in past times, we did not hesitate to lock up the most dangerous criminals and keep them far away from anyone they could harm. And I agree with that 100%. That's the way it's supposed to be, he says. No longer will we tolerate these serial offenders who spread filth, bloodshed, and mayhem on our streets. That is why today I am directing the Bureau of Prisons, together with the Department of Justice, the FBI, and Homeland Security, to reopen a substantially enlarged and rebuilt Alcatraz to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders. And listen carefully. We will no longer be held hostages to criminals, thugs, and judges that are afraid to do their job and allow us to remove criminals who came into our country illegally. That sound like a warning? He goes on. The reopening of Alcatraz will serve as a symbol of law, order, and justice. We will make America great again. How about that? I think that's a little warning to the judges, the federal judges of the world, that we're not going to take this crap anymore. I think it's a great idea. I do. Open Alcatraz back up. Put these violent people in there. You don't have to deport them. Put them there. The worst of the worst. And that includes the politicians of the world. And I was also, speaking of that, I was also listening to a podcast today. An insider, somebody who knows what they're talking about the Epstein list and the Epstein files. They say right now that the Department of Justice and the FBI and the FBI and Department of Justice are working and going through, get this, 15 terabytes of information from the Epstein files. 15 terabytes. You know how much that is? I've got a terabyte here, a hard drive, that I swear to God, I bet I couldn't fill it if I tried. That's how big it is. It's massive. And they're going through and they're finding, they said hundreds and hundreds of victims, children. And they're having to go do this with a fine-tooth comb do everything proper. That's why this is taking so long. So I see these people offended, and I'm one of them, and I admit that. I'm impatient. I want things done, and I want them done today. Doesn't work that way. We all know that. It's just how the world works. It takes some time. You cannot accuse these high rollers, these people of power, without making sure that all your T's are crossed and all your I's are dotted. Because if you don't, and they walk on something, they'll have the best attorneys in the world to defend them. And if you make one mistake, it'll all be for nothing. Okay. So I want everybody to understand. I truly believe they're going to do something about this. I thought they were going to release all the names originally the first day he was back in office. But I think once he got in there, he found out you can't really do that because we want to make sure that we don't get sued for defamation. We want to make sure we've got everything on all these people. And I think that's the biggest part of it. I think they're doing their due diligence to make sure that this is done correctly. I could be wrong. I could be completely off base, but I think that's what's going on. So be patient. I think eventually it'll all come to light. Something else I wanted to talk about right quick, and I had a conversation with somebody over the weekend, and it was pretty funny because I just assume people know certain things, or at least have heard of it. And I had a friend of mine that I worked with years ago. We were talking about something, and the subject came up of how did that start? We were talking about stories that people believe, and not in a conspiracy environment. Just you'll hear my story, and then you'll understand what I'm talking about. The story came up of, I believe he said something about Hitler dying in a bunker in World War II in May. I think it was May 3rd, 1945. And he said, well, he said, if Hitler killed himself, he said, otherwise somebody would be talking German. I understand what he's talking about. If it wasn't for the Allies, most of Europe would be speaking German at the moment. But here's the thing. I just said, you do realize that's not true. And I fully believe this. I've looked at it. I've been doing some more research into it. Hitler didn't die in the bunker. Okay. And if you weren't aware of that, you just need to Google it. Well, not Google it. Be better to go on YouTube, and there are documentaries done on this. There's a mountain of evidence that he escaped to Argentina and lived the rest of his life down there. Died in the 1960s. Actually sired two daughters. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something to find out where the Hitler lineage is at this point? But I was amazed the guy didn't know it. He'd never heard of that. He said, well, that can't. He said, why would I heard that he was killed in World War II in the bunker. He killed himself. He shot himself. Well, I said, the evidence is proving that that's actually not the case. Actually, if you look into it and look at it and study it somewhat, the Russians were actually the people that found him, supposedly. Now, they're saying that he had a gunshot to the head and that they had tried to burn his body and it was partially burned and all that. Well, the Russians were there and the Russians took this skull with them. Okay. Well, they've kept it for almost 100 years. It's, I guess, 90 years. And turns out when they did DNA testing on it, turns out that skull was from a woman. Okay. And it wasn't Eva Braun. We don't know who it was. I think it was a 45-year-old woman, they think. They're not 100% sure, but they do know it was female. So that couldn't have been Hitler. And I just asked him, I said, do you really think, I just thought everybody knew that there was some, conflicting stories about this whole thing. And He said he never heard it. And I said, well, I said, you think of it this way. Hitler was supposedly the most evil human that's ever walked the planet. Okay. And I mean, that's going a ways because you got Mao, you've got Stalin, you've got a lot of people that weren't very good. Idi Amin was another one. There's tons of them. But when you want to point out evil, when you want to say this is the most evil person on the planet, Hitler is in the top 3. Okay. So he if it hadn't been for the Allies, they probably would have taken over most of Germany and probably Great Britain. Okay, so he would have been a conqueror, a world conqueror, as far as that goes. So he must have been intelligent, right? He must have been a relatively devious individual. They say he was a diabolical genius. They said he wasn't very good at military strategy, but at the end of the day, he did almost take over the world. So he had to have some IQ. He had to be relatively smart. So you're telling me that a guy like that, who is just on the brink of taking over the world at one point, that he wouldn't have had the forethought to put together an escape plan in case this thing went sideways? Of course he did. Of course he would have. You do realize, and I told my friend, you do realize there's a town in actually a whole region down in Argentina that's all German. There were several people. So there were hundreds of German officers from the Luftwaffe, the SS, all Nazis, all from the Nazi regime, that made it to Argentina and lived their lives down there. So to say that Hitler didn't do that, I mean, there are actually witnesses that saw his submarine leave. They had an airport right in Berlin that he could leave from. The story is that he left from there, landed, got in a submarine, started on the way down there, changed submarines, and ended up down in Argentina, and spent the rest of his life down there. And there are people down in Argentina that they've interviewed, said, yeah, he was here. We knew it. Everybody knew who he was. He'd shaved his little mustache off. They said he looked older. He looked like he'd lost weight. They all knew it was him. So I just find it amazing that people, you got to be really careful when you hear these stories, especially historical stories. Most of them are fabricated. Most of them aren't true, or at least to a certain degree aren't true. Yeah, and it's done for various reasons. They say, I think Churchill said it. He said, "History is written by the victor." Okay, because if you look at World War II, if you look, obviously the United States went over there and invaded, and we helped win the war against the Nazis. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, were they already defeated? I think they were, but Russia had beat them to within an inch of their life. But the point is, we got involved in it. Everything fell apart for the Nazi regime. But do you think what? I mean, let's say we ask a guy on the street in Germany in let's say 1941. Let's just say, let's ask him, get his perspective from where he's sitting. It'll be a completely different story than an American who's joining to go fight Hitler. It just will be. It depends on where you're sitting. It depends on perspective. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they were right. I'm not saying they were wrong. I'm not saying we were right. Evil was bad. There's no doubt about it. But he invaded countries. We've invaded countries. We've invaded countries. We do it all the time. Nobody says a word. But we're the good guys. We're the ones with the white hats. And I mean, 6 million Jews killed. That story. Whether you believe that or not, I don't know, but that's the story they tell. And he was ruthless. I'm not giving him any credit at all. I mean, he was a terrible human being, and he deserved exactly what he got. The problem is, what he got is not what they're telling you. He lived out his life in Argentina. The CIA knew about it. Well, the OSS, but at the time, but the FBI knew about it. There are actual documentation that shows that there's some variation on what happened to him. I mean, think of Operation Paperclip when they brought all those scientists over and people from the Nazi Party. Sounds like quid pro quo to me, doesn't it? To you? We'll give you these if I get to leave. Yeah, I think that's probably accurate. I was just amazed. I was just amazed that someone who I know and I've known for a long time was not even aware of this. That there even was a story like this. I just find that fascinating. I really do. Let's see. What else do I want to talk about tonight? The price of gas in California. And I don't know if I probably don't have a picture of that, but right now it is currently about $6.50 a gallon out in California. And the person who posted this on Twitter was complaining that Trump had promised he was going to bring the price of gas down, which I agree. It hasn't fallen that much, but I don't think you're ever going to see 50 cent a gallon gas again. I don't think we're going to see that. You have to factor into the price of gas, the cost of inflation. $2.50 right now is a pretty good deal if you can find that, and we're getting close to that. We're getting close to that, but it's only been we've only been involved in this a little over 3 months. So let's give him some time. We'll see how that works. But the complaint was from a lefty in California that they were pointing to they took a picture of the pricing for one particular gas station and was complaining that Trump had promised that the price of gas was going to go down. I got news for you. If you live in California, it's never going to go down. Okay? It's never going to go down. California has become a lost cause, in my opinion. Unless you're filthy rich, you can't live there. Okay? You just can't. And anyone out there needs to move. They really do. And they're losing people left and right. Hundreds of thousands a year they're losing. People are sick of it. Gavin Newsom, if the price of gas went down, let's just say for the sake of argument, Trump did pull off something and his plan is fulfilled. And suddenly the price of gas drops, let's say 70 or 80 cents a gallon. Okay. Right now where I live, it's about $2.89. So let's say it drops 70 cents a gallon. It's like $2.20 a gallon. I'd be thrilled. Okay. I'd be thrilled. Let's say it drops $1 in California. It would go from $6.79 to $5.79. And you know what Gavin Newsom would do? He would raise the taxes on the gasoline to make up so he could pocket that dollar on each gallon of gas. That's what he would do. California is a lost cause. You have allowed these people to sneak in. They're like cockroaches. You can't get rid of them. You stomp on one, there's 5 more takes this place, or 100 more that takes this place. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. California is a lost cause. It's I don't know how anyone lives out there. I truly don't. I truly don't. With all the regulation, I mean, they're talking about doing away with gas-powered cars in California. I think they're still planning on that in 2030. You're not going to make any more cars out there. Yeah. So what happens? Everything goes up. Everything does. The cost of transportation besides wages, is the thing that costs you the most when it comes to manufacturing. It just does. Yeah. It's in everything. Everything you eat, everything you use, everything you consume the price is controlled by the cost of fuel and energy. It just is. So anyway, I just had to say that because I saw that this person was complaining about that, and it really irritates me when people do that. It really does. Nobody said anything about Joe Biden canceling the pipeline deals. Nothing about that. And what gas do? It went up immediately because we're so afraid that the oceans are going to rise. Yeah, and global warming and climate change, depending on what they're calling it this week, right? You know how that works. They're all full of shit. They really are trying to scare you to death. Okay. So I don't know what to tell everybody. I really don't. But California wants its cake and eat it too. But have you seen what it costs to live in San Francisco and what's happening to that town? That used to be, I don't know. I've never been there, but you hear people talk about it. It was a beautiful city. Now it's a shithole. It is. Homeless everywhere. Businesses moving out left and right. What are they going to do? What's going to do? Oakland is a hellhole. Los Angeles is a disaster. Homeless everywhere. You want to know why there's homeless? Because it's $3,000 for a single bedroom apartment in San Francisco. Who the hell can afford that? Why would you? Why would you? And they wonder why they've got people out on the street. You can't continue to do that. You have to, it's not affordable anymore. And what's funny is it's getting to the point now where even the rich, it's affecting the rich. I saw something the other day. It's affecting the rich. And what I mean by that is not their bottom line. It's not doing that. But they can't find anyone to do services for them. They can't find plumbers. They can't find electricians because no one can afford to live there. So they're having to move 100 miles away. So they're not, in order for an electrician to come, he's going to have to drive probably 80 miles just to come to your spot. Same thing with a plumber. These people, they can't afford these prices. But the rich don't care. The rich don't care. The whole system's falling apart. It truly is. I don't know what's going to happen in another 3 or 4 years in California. I really don't. But to stand there and bitch about the fact that Trump said he was going to lower the price on gas when a lot of the cost in gas is state taxes is ridiculous. Is ridiculous. What are you going to do? What's to be expected there? You're where is it? Sacramento? Isn't that isn't that the capital of California? I think Sacramento is. Yeah. I mean, Newsom's a horrible person. He is. He didn't care about anybody. He wants his $1,000 wine, and you guys can all go to hell. But he's got higher aspirations. We'll see where that all goes. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble now. I apologize. What else did I want to talk about before we got too far? Let's see. Let me look on here and see what other interesting things are going on. I wanted to kind of glance through these, kind of go over it a little bit. Oh yeah, the DHS is offering illegals $1,000 and free flights home to self-deport. How about that? How about that? Isn't that interesting? I think it's a great idea. Give them $1,000. Say, get the hell out of here. We'll pay you to leave because now we've got our border under control. You're not coming back. Get out. Go get in line. If you want to come back, go get in line, fill out the proper paperwork, and here's $1,000 for your trouble. I think it's brilliant. How about you? You think that's a good idea? It's $1,000. It's nothing. But they can go back home and at least they've got a way to start again. I think it's an incentive. I think it's a great idea. But that's just me. I could be wrong, right? I could be wrong. Maybe that'll backfire. I think it's a brilliant idea myself. Yeah. So anyway, again, I'm rambling. I apologize. It was fun talking though. And we will see you again tomorrow or probably a day or two. I'll be back. Okay. All right. Well, you guys have a good day. Be safe and peace out.